I'm ready.
And we're
Go.
live.
We're live.
I haven't checked everything, so
We're live.
I haven't checked everything, so oh, hang on, I got
I
something.
want to say live at 5. I guess it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
Hey, everybody, what's up?
Yeah.
Late, but we made it.
Yeah, we're here.
Technical difficulties. And we have Mondo this time. That's different. It's unusual. It's nice to have you here.
Mm.
I had to cry to get him here. Not that that worked, but
Okay, yeah, we're a little late, so it's good. So we'll pick it up as we go. Hi, everybody. It's Vapers Worldview Sunday. Surprise! It's Sunday again.
That's bad.
I have an excuse. I was at a vape meet. You buying it?
Yeah, I'm buying it.
Thanks for joining us, Mark, today. See if we can
No
get.
problem.
I guess we should start off our show like we normally do, and that is talking about the crazy things that are going on right now.
yeah.
I have to run into my mail right quick, and we'll look at those.
Okay. We're spoiled. We're used to Knock doing all that for
I
us.
know. Well, we'll start kind of backwards. We just got news that Nevada um, is looking at Senate Bill 79, which is looking at a definition to impose a sales tax at 30% over wholesale price, and they're also looking at the issues there of some of the classifications. It's not really a tobacco classification, but it is its own it is its own style of classification for what's going on. Um, some of the things that they're talking about is liquid nicotine that's exported or imported from the state, um, shipped to, delivered, sold, or exchanged, or transported, or distributed, or held for distribution. Um, any type of liquid nicotine is considered to be under this chapter. And then the other thing about it is if it's offered for sale. So if you're talking a 30% of wholesale tax on anything that contains nicotine. You know where I stand on that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we all stand in the same place.
Yeah, we're all there with you.
Yeah, one of the things that someone was asking me earlier today is what I thought about, some small tax. I said, well, I don't have a problem with that, but let's go for something that deserves a tax. So let's start with Big Macs. It has more of an impact on public health than e-cigs. So,
That's true.
okay. A couple of local alerts to cover right quick. Paradise Town Council in California. Um, what they're looking at there is to treat e-cigarettes in the same way that they treat tobacco, and that's on the first reading, or the second reading is going to be on the 10th, so that'll be Tuesday at 6 p.m. and there'll be a link up for that for the Paradise town in California. Highland Park, Illinois. This is Highland Park is a Youth Protection Act. Restrict the sale of e-cigarettes to minors. Things like this come out, and we want to kind of get behind them and support them. So that's Highland Park in Illinois, and that's on the 12th at 4:30. I don't know if we got anybody in Alaska, but Alaska has Senate Bill 1. Again, this is another definition that includes e-cigarettes in the same manner as cigarettes. Um, they do have some interesting provisions in there for private clubs, though. So that's in front of the Alaska State or Senate. Salem, Oregon. Oregon is looking to prohibit smoking on all city-owned properties, and they want to include e-cigarettes in that. And the meeting on that is on the 9th, or excuse me, yeah, on the 9th. That'll be Monday, 6:30 p.m. in Salem, Oregon. And this one's going to kill me. Multnomah County Ordinance, and this is in. Hang on, let me see where this one's at. Multnomah County is in Oregon, and this is another one of the looking to prohibit sales to minors and possession to minors. So that one's a little bit different. The definitions there, it doesn't. They are using it under the tobacco and inhalant delivery systems rules there. But this is one of those, again, where they're trying to do youth protection. Also limits where smoking or using cigarettes can occur. It excludes conference rooms, restrooms, meeting rooms, elevators, and stairways, or any child care facility, even if it's a private residence. What do you think of that type of restriction there, Mark?
Yeah, I look at it because we just had a public ban here in Ventura, which is a city north of me, about 5-10 minutes away, and asking the shop owners, the small ones that we don't have many here, and asking them about these type of bans, these type of ordinances, and they were just nonchalant about it, and it's seems to be like that's what's happening right now.
Oh, so there's track.
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't like them, but the thing is that some of us vapors don't seem to respect a lot of things sometimes and think that we can blow these big clouds in these public places, especially in elevators and all that stuff, and it's something we shouldn't be doing.
And a lot of people don't understand that they're with these types of ordinance, when they're this specific like this, it's usually in response to something more than it is an issue of whether or not they're looking at an overall scope for a public ban. They're more looking at something that specifically someone's reported, so that gets where it gets a little sticky.
Yes.
And let me take a quick look and see what other ones we've got that are in some immediate attention here.
How you guys doing tonight?
I'm good.
Good.
Sardell, Minnesota, is proposing amending the tobacco code to include e-cigarettes. And that one, there's a Minnesota Vapers issued a call to action on that. The meeting for that one is on February 9th at 7 p.m. at Sartell City Hall. And let me see, what else have we got? Oregon. We got Oregon already. There's a call to action from CASA opposing House Bill 26 in Maryland. that's calling for a full public indoor ban. And there's also House Bill 59, which would prohibit the sale of flavored vapor products with the exception of menthol.
I don't get the whole menthol thing. Isn't that a flavor?
So it's tobacco.
Yeah, it irks me so much.
You want wait? You mean you want common sense regulation or common sense ordinances? Come on, that ain't gonna happen.
We don't even have common sense politicians.
See but that whole menthol thing goes
Agreed.
back to when they were trying to ban flavors on cigarettes, because the menthols, they fought to keep the menthols because they felt that it would be taking away from a certain ethnicity. They made it a racial thing.
And then there's always, I've heard the other thing too, is because it cuts down on the bad taste of cigarettes. So that's why it makes the cigarette more palatable. So it makes it more kid friendly.
It's crap. That's my opinion.
So does Fruit Loops and gummy bears. I think gummy bears makes vaping taste a whole lot better.
Agreed.
I'm just gonna say this. I haven't met a gummy bear juice that I've liked anyway. So,
Yeah.
No, but I will tell you, I am offended by the fact that I've heard senators, one in particular, mention that, well, you don't see very many truck drivers vaping gummy bears. And, dude, wait a minute. Do you know very many truck drivers? There's a reason why truck drivers are fat, and that's from eating gummy bears and candy and crap going down the highway. What do you mean?
It's funny.
and it's true. It is true because I work with truckers, and they're always offering me gummy bear packages and little, M&Ms, and they have all this stuff. So.
A little burst of sugar for them while they're on the road,
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also a story coming out of North Dakota. The North Dakota is looking at taxes, and I've talked to some people up in the North Dakota area already, and we're getting a lot of mixed reports out there. So it's one of those things that we really do need to be looking at in that area. So if you know any North Dakota vapors, have them get in touch with the militia so we got some bodies up there. I think that's all I've got of ordinances for the moment. I know, give them an hour and they'll figure out a new one. Well, Truck and Mondo have joined us today, and I want to thank them for doing that. And of course, there's Robin here. Since we didn't do our
Hi,
intro,
guys.
so we were late.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me.
Let me change that because I was late.
I brought something with me. If you look in chat, I threw something in chat for you to share with everybody.
Oh, did I miss it? Hang on. Oh yeah, we can cover that. We can
Been
cover
working
that
really
with-
hard on that. Been working really hard on that, and it's now released. So we need to promote it.
And that's what Truck's talking about. Truck, go ahead and tell them what you're talking about. We'll go ahead and I'll copy it in the chat.
Well, June 5th and 6th in Ann Arbor, Michigan, we again will be having Vape Expo. Again, Vaping Melissa will be on the moniker. It is an event to help support us. We had an excellent time last year, but we did have some non-vapors and some issues. So what we've done this year is we've booked the entire hotel. So
Yay.
we need to fill the entire hotel. That way we can all have a good time. And the reason why we did it is so that there is no issues with vaping indoors or vaping anywhere. We've hired a special security team to help monitor the place so that we're not worried about fire alarms and such like in past events elsewhere. It should be a good time, man.
Yeah, last year it was a really good time for the 5 hours I got to go. I'm not going away anyway this time.
I would have been upset if I was only there for 5 hours because it took me 41 to get there one way.
Unfortunately, I didn't make it last year, and I kind of regretted it. So I will be there this year. So
Yeah, me too. I wasn't there last year either, but I'll be at this one for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
if
yeah.
you don't, I can guarantee if you don't make it, Monk, you will be kidnapped and brought. We've already made arrangements. Well, at, in our in our normal course, we always talk about those hot topic items, and regretfully, Michigan made it on the top topic items this week because a Grand Rapids news station, Channel 8, decided to go running around the city to find out if if any youth could buy a e-cigarette. What they did is they took two teenagers that were, I mean, they looked young, but they took them into a convenience store and into two different vape shops to see if
Wait a
they
minute.
could purchase e-cigarettes.
So they took teenagers into a vape shop and a gas station. I think there was a gas station
Yep.
too.
There
Not
was.
that I approve, but they took them in there to prove a point that it was legal because it's already still legal in that state.
Well, it is legal, and the reason why it's legal, it's a good thing you brought that up, is it
Mhm.
is legal because last year in Michigan, we spent a lot of time and got a youth prevention bill that went unanimously through the Senate and through the House and went up to Governor Snyder for a signature to make it law. And when it got to Governor Snyder, he decided that it wasn't adequate enough. So he vetoed it.
Awesome.
now, go in a little bit more depth there. Now, what was his? He had some people in his ear, didn't he?
Yeah, Governor Snyder has some very good relations with the group that has been the sponsor of Truth. So he's had a lot of ALA and that type of people in his ears, and their problem was is because it did not define the bill did not define e-cigarettes as tobacco and did not provide for provisions for taxing it. It wasn't enough.
So it was two teenage girls, wasn't it? Like 15-year-old girls?
Yep.
It was a 14 and a 15-year-old,
Okay.
as per the article.
Having been a teenage girl at one time, we try real hard to make ourselves look older. So I wonder if they actually looked that age or if they looked older. And I wonder if it would have been different if it was two teenage boys. Can't help wondering.
I believe it would have been different if it was.
I do too.
I'm
Absolutely,
not
I
so
do.
sure. I'm not so sure.
No,
I am sure. I am.
I
Sure.
I usually say I haven't looked 18 since I was 15. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it would have been different. I do.
Talking about.
Well, let's just let's just go to the brass tacks on this. Is we really don't want anybody selling anything to minors,
No, absolutely not.
but I have shopped the at the shops that were in question. I've been to both Juice Vapors and I've been to um, Mystery Liquid, and it's in the article, so you can see exactly who they are anyway. And I will
Yes.
tell you that both of those shops is very clearly marked that they don't sell to under 18. So that signage is there.
So I was
So-
telling the guys. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you want
Sorry, Ron, go
I
ahead.
was telling the guys the other night, actually on the radio show, because we talked about this a little bit, in Pennsylvania, where they sell tobacco and stuff, they have, of course they have signs that say "We Card," but what they say is "We Card" anybody that looks under 25. So it gives them, a bigger span of age there. So if you don't look 25, like if you don't look 25, you're not going to look like that when you're 14. An 18-year-old might look 25, maybe, but probably not, so they have like a bigger gap, and it seems to work pretty well. Not everybody cards them, but it seems to work pretty well, I think.
Well, so they went into the convenience store and there was no question at all. And they
Right.
went to one vape shop and they were stopped from buying anything because they didn't have ID. Now the second vape shop, they sold to them even though there were signs there. So you've got a company whose policy is to not sell to 18, but you've got a person behind the cash register who made a mistake.
Right.
You want to know what kind of surprises me is the response from the cashier at the gas station.
Yeah.
She, not knowing any laws based on the way she reacted, said she looked older, like, oh, I know I'm busted. Oh, I know I'm busted. Oh, I know I'm busted. Obviously didn't know the law. So I'm questioning, should they review her and see if she sells cigarettes to minors? Because obviously she doesn't know how to judge age.
Well, I think
The only
the
thing
more
I
important,
think, the only thing
the
I
more
see
important
that
thing here is they really need a law in Michigan that does forbid it.
right. So she didn't do anything illegal really when she sold it to them because there's no law that prohibits them to be sold to.
Right. So and in the store that you spoke about too. I mean, nobody broke an actual law there. They broke apparently what's a company policy, but they did not break a law.
Yeah.
No.
You know.
But then that brings you to this self-regulation. Is it
Yes.
really a myth? Because I think there are some people that are doing it no matter what.
And I think that's the nailhead we need to look at right there.
Yeah. I mean, I've been
Is-
in shops locally where I've seen people get carded. So some are.
You know, as we've talked about before, I know a lot of people think the word regulation is a bad word. But self-regulation is creating a standard for yourself, for the industry itself. And I think sometimes we get lost of late because there's so many laws and stuff that are being created and so many ordinances that are being created that we need to focus back on the fact that we need to maintain our own self-regulation. So I want to throw that around the room and get some opinions on that. We'll start with Truck. What do you think, Truck?
My thought is we are in an industry where we're asking people who well, not everybody. We're asking a lot of people who are in this for the money to not take the money that's potentially in their face. I think we need to self-regulate. I think once somebody understands what we're up against politically, they have no choice but to self-regulate. But we've got a lot of shops, and I'm not saying either of these two shops. Both of these two shops have good intentions, but a lot of shops, and I say that based on a lot of shops here on the West Coast. Man, they see $1 and they're after the dollar, and I'm concerned that they're going to just go with the dollar until they're forced not to. Because the people that obviously know what we're up against politically and in the activism ring, they self-regulate. They're doing it. I don't know.
Mike, what do you think?
I have this whole thing now that because of this article and this newscast that came out, and from the things that I've heard through the wire, I think self-regulation cannot happen because there's too many people that won't do it. And it goes back to what Truck says. It's about money and what they can make, and knowing that maybe they ain't going to make it through regulations from the FDA, so they're just going to get what they can get and get out. And it brings me back to juiced vapor. Now, they didn't do anything wrong. They did everything right.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where it should have been. The problem that I don't want to say it's a problem, but the interesting thing that I saw was the clerk or the employee said everything right, but he did something that I felt was he should have really gone that extra and really stopped it and just told them, sorry, you don't have ID, you can't buy anything here. But he said everything right. He said, hey, there's a law going to be passed soon about it. We're already trying to regulate ourselves under that type of a law. and you don't have any ID, so we can't. But then he defers it to his manager.
Mm-hmm.
She's got to make the final decision. He said everything right. He just didn't go forward all the way and just tell them, look, we can't sell to you. And it's like, there's that self-regulation that everything was good, but yet didn't pull the trigger. I had a small little thing with that, but everything else he did right, and they did right by not selling to him.
Yeah, Robin.
I agree with Monk in a lot of ways. I think some regulations are necessary. I just do. As far as self-regulation, I don't think we're doing a great job of that. I think we all know that at some point, probably not in the too distant future, we're going to have child safety caps on all the bottles. Tamper-evident seals, great labeling with all the things that are important to be on there. And we all know a lot of companies that aren't doing that yet. And why wouldn't you already start to move in that direction if you know it's coming anyway, let alone deciding to do it on your own without even thinking that's coming. If everybody was on the same page, willing to do the same thing, I think it would be a lot easier, but I don't think we're there. I just don't think we're there.
And one of the things that concerns me is I'm kind of a black and white person. It's either an effort that works or an effort that doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had 3 years to make it work, and we've not done it. So that's very telling to me on what the future holds for self-regulation. Not that those premium people, that elite group that has taken the lead and has jumped out there and is doing all the right things, is doing anything wrong. It's just that if they're the only ones doing it, they actually suffer the consequences of regulation without ever it being a part of it.
Right.
And I don't think that's fair to them.
Can I chime in on what you just said?
Yep.
You made a comment that we've had 3 years, and based on that, you see who's doing it. It's the ones that have been here 3 years.
Yeah.
The ones that have not are the ones that we're having trouble with. The ones that don't get it, don't understand what we're doing, and they're not self-regulating yet because they haven't been shown the problem that they may be causing. And that's just my opinion on the way that's coming down.
I think I got an echo here. Hang on. Yeah, I don't think that everybody's jumped forward that needs to be jumping forward, and that's not good because that's not an equal playing field.
We've got a lot of new shops starting up that don't necessarily get it yet. They just see dollar signs. Dollars, 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 and they jump in because, hey, I can make juice. Man, I can order from China and I can sell this stuff. And hey, cool. Hey, it's not illegal. I can do this. Let's hurry up and make the thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars now.
Yeah.
And if they regulate me later, then they regulate me later.
Let me see. I'm trying to see where I got an echo coming back, but I don't see it. Is that any better, people?
It could be me, because I hear an echo when I talk, but not when you guys talk.
I don't hear it at all.
We'll try to figure it out. So does this kind of lead you to the thought to think that self-regulation is a bad path?
Yes, pretty much it is a bad path. Because not everybody's following it. And they talk it.
Right.
But they don't follow it.
They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. It's not realistic. It's because it's not happening. I mean, they're showing us that.
I'm not inclined to call it a bad path. I just am not inclined to say that it's working. I think it's definitely a path we need to go down, and I think we need to keep pushing people to do it. I just don't think enough people are. I think it needs to be done. I do think some forced regulation needs to be done. Once some forced regulation starts happening and people start to realize that we could have prevented this, I think maybe the other stuff would fall in. But once some forced regulations start to come, like age restrictions and stuff like that, I think the other stuff, bottle caps and all that, may start to come in. But I don't think it's a bad path. I just don't think it's working, per se.
So here's a question for you. What about, is there another way that we can do it?
If there is, I don't know what that would be at the moment, because I thought, we talk, we meet with so many vendors on the ground level at different conventions and meets, and they're all for it, and we hear them talk about, some of them come on shows or have shows, and they talk about it, and a lot of them are doing this. And for it to happen to, some that are, it's just disheartening, but mistakes are made. And we can't harp on that. We have to move forward, correct them, and move forward. So, yeah, there could be a chance for it, but it's not going to be across the board with everyone.
Okay, to this point, when we say self-regulation, we've depended on each individual to make a decision to do the right thing. So what I'm thinking about, and mind you, this is just off the cuff, is instead of trying to get the individual to do the right thing, we need to figure out some way to get an industry authority to step forward and do the right thing. So what do you think on that?
I don't know, because if you think about it, you get that individual or that popular vape shop, not everyone's still going to follow it. This is the problem that we have. We have a lot of times where they're just. I hate to keep repeating this, but it just it hits to the core, is that a lot of these people are what Truck said. I can make juice, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make what I can out of this industry. Or like I said, I don't even know why I call it an industry, because we're not there yet. Out of this community, and I'm going to just bail. I know it's coming. Just do what I can do now, bail, and try something else. And that's what you're having that. Now, the people that are in it for the long haul, that are doing everything right, they're going to try to get through whatever regulation there is. They're in it for the long haul, and it's good to see them trying to do that. But come on, the government knows, the states know, the cities know we cannot self-regulate each other, so they're going to do it for us.
To me, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was muted. The militia dog has been barking. And again, I agree with Mondo. Some of the bigger guys, and we all know a lot of the big businesses, and we know some of the small ones. And I was in one of the really pretty big ones in my area not long ago, and he's changing everything where he makes the juice. He's already got a lab, but he's actually changing the ventilation system and putting in all kinds of stuff, because he's in anticipation, and he's like, I might as well do it now. It's my own self-regulation. But you don't see the smaller guys doing it. Like I've heard some of them, because I ask them, I go into shops and I ask them, like, where do you make your juice? Because if they make it at home on their kitchen table, I don't want it, But I think some of them think it's not going to happen. I think they're in denial. But self-regulation from I don't know, Joe. I don't see it. I just don't see it.
Truck, what do you think?
Well, as far as the concept of an industry enforcement, We can't even get people to agree on child safety caps and labels and IDing things. So who are we going to get to agree that how are we going to get people to agree that this one individual or this one entity is the almighty enforcer?
To be all
Um,
end all.
and then the one thing that's bugging me the most, and I'd love to figure out how to change it, in my opinion, is when you open a franchise or you open a restaurant, there are set costs. Your building, your food cost, and everything like that. But anybody can open a vape shop. You can't open a kitchen without a certain set cost. You cannot sell a hamburger, even if it's prepackaged, without certain things in place.
Hmm.
Yet we can do this in the vaping industry. I don't think, and I think until that point, my opinion, I hate it because the smaller guys are going to hate it. Until we get to that standard that you have to have a minimum of this before you can open a vape shop. You know what I mean? You can't run in and open a hair salon without having
Yep.
a way to clean your stuff. You can't open a factory making dog food without having certain things met. OSHA, MSHA, all kinds of stuff like that. Yet vaping, there is nothing there. And until we figure that out, I think it's going to be like this, because anybody can open a vape shop. If I can afford the rent and I can spend $1,000 from China, I got a vape shop. And I hate to say it that way. It's that simple. Now that we've got some really good people that have spent a lot of money, we've got some people that are coming up in the ranks. They started out with $1,000 order from China
Hmm.
and a brick and mortar, or they started out with a website and $1,000 order from China, and they're doing it the right way. They've moved offline. They've moved to a brick and mortar. They've built their shop up. And they're finally building a clean room. You know, I think that's noble. I think that's awesome. I just don't think though that as an industry we're going to survive without regulation from the government until there is a standard, because you still have vendors mixing juice in the back with no clean rooms. You still have vendors making juice at home because they can. You still have people selling to minors because, well, they didn't know, or they can, or there is. I don't think self-regulation is going to help. I mean, I think we need to. I really think we need to, but I don't think it's going to be. It's going to be government regulation before people finally go, maybe we should have self-regulated.
Or came up with some kind of guidelines for how to make it, something like that. We're an industry in our infancy. There's a lot there to learn. We have a long way to go as an industry, but I think kind of think without some kind of guidelines at minimum, like how do we do it?
So, so I'll throw the question back at you again and say, where do we go from here? How do we fix this problem? How do we find a solution that'll work? We already know that when we look at what the government's looking at, first off, their knowledge of the product is not as in depth.
Right.
Second, um, we've all read the financial document that had to do with the FDA. If it means we lose 90% of the vape shops to consolidation, that's not a good idea. So I was going to throw a curveball in here and say, what if, and this is just an idea, what if the industry or a group in the industry approaches state governments with a certification that could be used for licensing?
Think it would help. I think, well, getting people to agree that that is the standard they want to go with. I think that's going to be the hard part.
Because there are some groups already that do provide some type of a standard in that manner. AIMSA has standards for how it creates juice, but there's some people who don't agree with it.
I think ultimately the FDA is going to tell us what those standards are, and if they agree with it or not, they're going to have to follow it. I don't want to be a downer here, but I think we're past self-regulation already, in a sense.
I think we're too
The
late.
government, yeah, I think we're too late already. We should have done this, like you said, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We should have had some standards and guidelines already in place that people would follow, and the ones that didn't, they just didn't. But I think it is too late. I think because we're looking at what, a June deadline now for FDA to come down with something. Is that where we're at?
Something
We're
like
not
that.
we're not that far away, and if it does come down, there's going to be some standards they're going to have to follow, or they're going to be out of business. And I think some of them are looking at that. I think we are too far down the line. We should have done this, like you said, 3 years ago. I think even 2 years ago, we would have been okay, and we could have helped the FDA regulate us, and they even asked for our help. Remember the whole comment period? They were asking us, we don't know how to regulate you, help us, and we didn't do it. Not in the way we should have.
Okay. So far, we sound like this is very negative towards the vendors because they didn't regulate. So I want to kind of take this and throw another curveball in it, and a lot of the onus for the problem goes to the consumer because they were not they didn't educate themselves on the product. It's a game of shopping for the cheapest juice. How many mils can I get for my dollar? And really not asking the questions that need to be asked. So I think the consumer effort also needs to step up.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is so true. We didn't hold, as a consumer, as a vapor, we didn't hold our vape shops to a standard.
No, we didn't.
We just said, okay, this is the cheapest price. We understand this person's making their juice from their bathtub or whatever, but who cares, because I like it. It tastes good to me, and I'm going to keep buying it. And I don't care what standard there is. And we didn't do that. We didn't step up and hold those vendors to a standard, and that's unfortunate.
So the worst thing you can say about a juice is it tastes good, huh? It is something to think about, and we have a little bit of reach here to the consumers, and kind of the challenge that you guys need to step forward. You need to start making the right decisions based not on just on how the juice tastes, but how it's prepared and how that company conducts themselves. Go ahead, Trek.
I kind of am at a point where I personally want to see all the small guys that are doing the right thing prosper. But I think there's many that are ruining it for the ones that are doing the right thing, and I think it's gonna have to take regulation. And if we can get an industry standard set up with somebody like AIMSA or Safada or somebody that can come in and put together standards, like I said, it goes back to anybody can open a vape shop, and I don't think that anybody should be able to open a vape shop. I think that's a problem. Um, because you get a lot of people that don't even know what they're doing. They can mix juice, yeah, because they found it on the internet. Hey, look, I can make a flavor with this flavor. My friend likes it. I'm going to go into business. And you see a lot of it. I really, I, I'm stuck. I think we're stuck until we step up in that manner. We have to regulate in that kind of manner. We can't get by, and until we do or the government does it for us, we're gonna keep putting out small fires here and there.
I don't think that's a way to survive. I think that firefighting approach is the easiest way to make the 6 o'clock news.
Like they did in Michigan.
So, if someone was to come forward and propose a standard, and I'm asking everybody to think kind of out of the box for a moment. If someone was to actually come forward and propose a standard, um, how do you think that we'd have to go about getting it out into the public? I mean, where do you think? I'm just trying to get some ideas here because maybe we can plant a seed in the industry that they'll move forward with.
Well, your first thing, if you're trying to get things out, you got to, first of all, online communities where you go to first. Because you have all social media at hand here. We got Facebooks and Twitters and even Instagrams and Pinterest and all this stuff. So you hit those really, really hard if you're trying to do that. And, of course, online vapors are also offline vapors when they're not plugged in. So they tell their friends that are doing it on the outside, and it starts to spread. So that's how it should go. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, Robin, they're flashing gang signs. I'm going to have to take them out. Anyway.
Thank God the teenagers just left the house. That's all I got to say. Oh, my God. You know, and it was really noisy here for a few minutes, which is why I was muted. But, you know, I know we're talking about regulations. Oh, my God, now the militia dog. Sorry. You know, I always end up comparing everything to healthcare. Can't help it. That's my world, you know. And what we have is, you know, once a year in different kinds of health care facilities, a little team of people, registered nurses, social workers, people who know how to run a kitchen, and these are by state laws, you know, come out and make sure you're doing what you're doing. Like everything's, you know, you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, that the MSDS books are where they need to be, that everybody knows where to go to look for them, all that kind of stuff. And I can't help wondering if maybe we're moving in that direction. And I'm not sure if that was your question or not, because like I said, it was noisy, but, you know, I kind of wonder if we're going to head in that direction at some point, you know, where we're going to have like annual inspections like restaurants do in their kitchens, and that kind of stuff, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's what we need to. I think that's going to be the only solution that's going to work is somewhere along the line, someone in the industry, and I have to say someone because I have no idea who it'll be, is going to have to step up and set that bar that everybody else can reach. And they are going to have to work concurrently with FDA. They're going to have to work concurrently with, and this is where we get into the weird part is who the people that they'd have to work with. They're going to have to work with public health.
Yes, absolutely.
They're going to have to work with consumer standards. But I think the idea that even after regulation, because I'm not so sure at this point that what anything that could be submitted is going to be anything workable.
Yeah. You know what I wonder too? I don't know, maybe this is stupid, but semantics sometimes I think is important. And so we're referring to all these places moving towards them being labs. So if they're labs, are we going to have people that control labs coming to check them out? Because that's a totally different ballgame. Totally different.
Interesting comment from the chat says the problem is the government's not going to let us because they regulate all kinds of businesses. They have state inspectors checking all the time. So it'll be with vaping also. Well, that's true, but let me remind you that no industry has ever gone blindly into government regulation. They have always cooperated. So the key point there is the cooperation, and the bodies need to be there to provide that cooperation. And I don't think we have that in place. I think we need to look at that.
Yeah.
So we're still looking at a big problem that has no answers at the moment.
And even if we do have the answers, they're not the right answers for some.
No.
So we have that problem. You know, as we work with a lot of the groups And we're starting to see a lot of the advocacy groups happening in the different states, and they're getting built and getting lobbyists for themselves and stuff. They have their we help them along, but they have their own agendas sometimes. So, and they're going to do what's good for their state, and what's good for one state is not really good for another. So we have a lot to do, but we have such a short time. And it was mentioned in the chat that maybe FDA is holding back to see what the states are going to do, and the counties are going to do, and the cities are going to do. I hate to say this, but they are watching us with a very watchful eye, and I would suspect if I was the FDA and seeing the articles and seeing the stuff that's coming out on a daily basis that makes your head spin, they're shaking their heads saying, yeah, we're going to regulate this industry because it needs it. And there are some that are not. There are some that are not against regulation, but you got to remember, FDA doesn't do anything small. They do everything big, and they're going to go over the top. And then there's a lot of people saying, and a lot of different articles and newscasters are saying, be careful in how you regulate. They're not going to listen to that. I mean, it's just going to come big.
Well, I think in that too, we've got to consider that even let's say that they're looking the same data we are, and I'm quite sure that they're having the same problem that we are when we look at it and trying to figure out what that process of regulation even is. Because I don't think that there's a particular set answer to some of the problems at the moment. Because one of the problems that we're running into, and I know many of you have heard me say this before, is there's so much more that we don't know. And as long as those questions are out there, you get into the problem of, and I really hate to agree to this argument, but there is a point where if you don't know that it's harming and you don't know that it's harmful, where do you make a decision? So you've got no proof of harm and no proof that it's harmless. Where in the middle do you stop? How long can you disprove the harm of something before you finally say it's harmless? You understand what I'm saying? It's kind of a hard spot to be in.
Yeah, we are in a hard spot.
Yeah.
Very hard spot. Because we have the reports, we have everything that we need to say, hey, look it, we show that it is harm reduction. It's an alternative to what's out there now that Big Pharma has put out there that doesn't work. And this does work. But being in the spot that we're at, we're being torn. And we're feeling the ripple effect of that even down to our level where we're almost tearing each other apart already.
Yeah, I know that's one of the things that I was very disappointed in when I saw these articles come out, was there were a number of people who were quick to jump into this with a very vicious tone towards the vape shop that screwed up, towards the reporters that attempted to do what they did. I just found it very interesting that some people's form of advocacy is not to solve the problem, but simply to point out the problems with what the problem was. And I don't know that that's fruitful.
But in every industry, you're going to have your dissenters. You're going to have those that go against the grain, or go against everything you say. That's just part of the package. You could be an activist that has done a lot for a lot of people and a lot of things, and still be on the hit list of some people because you are successful in what you do. And and it just comes with par for the course. When we deal with it as we move along. But this is something that I never saw before in this community. It's just now coming to light, and it just seems like because we have these regulations going to be put on our backs, and it's not just the vape shops' backs; it's going to be on the vapors' backs too.
Mhm.
That we are getting vicious with one another.
Yeah, there's a lot of finger pointing going on. I don't like it, And with that particular situation, there's plenty of shops around that have those signs in their store. So, probably what a lot of those people should do is take a step back and look at it and say, you know what? He had the signs. I've got the signs. What can I do differently to prevent this thing from happening in my shop? Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, learn from the other people's thing instead of pointing your finger and saying, look how they messed up there. Look at that nonsense. Do you know? And like, because truly, if that issue happened there, it can happen in any shop. So, that's the time to take a look at it and figure out what can we do differently to prevent this.
Question. I want to go back to something Joe was saying. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yep.
My mic was messed up a minute ago. Joe, my thing is, we're at a spot. You asked, how long can we do this for? Well, we've got our hands tied by the FDA. Unless we blatantly come out and say stuff, we can't call this tobacco harm reduction. They won't let us. We can't call this harmless. They won't let us. Even though we've
Let me
got the
correct
studies
that.
to show it.
Vendors can't.
Right.
Well, I say we industry-wise, but now you and I can. Vapers can. But I think that it's kind of hard. The guys that are actually doing this. Did I screw up here?
No, I agree. You're 100% right. It's kind of ridiculous that the best selling point of a product can't even be used to market it.
To me, hey, look at my brand new car, but you can't tell what color it is, and I can't let you road test it. Just have to buy it sight unseen, and know that the airbags work. It's going to get you far. It's going to get you down the road a whole lot safer than that skateboard is. But you have to trust me on this. And I can't tell you that it's safer than the skateboard on a slalom course down Kilimanjaro. But whatever. I know that's radical. That's a radical analogy, but still, we've got something that is blatantly in the face of tobacco that is helping people, but we can't say it, and we can't promote it, and we can't. We show studies, and yet the studies we show them are up against what they said we can say by people that shouldn't have no business regulating it in the first place. That's like asking a school teacher to regulate the soccer team, or the soccer teacher to regulate the trucking industry.
Exactly.
Okay. They like to say that we don't know the long-term effects of it, and we don't. I mean, that's accurate. But we do know a lot more about what's in it, what's in our liquid, and know that, certainly it's got to be less harmful than the alternative, But they don't want to admit that either. They just don't.
I, as a truck driver for 20 years, know more about trucks than a highway patrol officer going down the road does. Until that highway patrol officer becomes a DOT officer, he still don't know everything about the trucks that he knows because he didn't live it firsthand like I did for 20 years. We're living this firsthand day to day. Now, okay, that's not to say trucks are safe. Trucks will kill you in a minute if misused, if abused, and not properly connected. That falls to user error and inexperience and people that don't study and don't learn what they're doing and how to do it. And I think that's exactly the way vaping is. We have problems with vapors. We have problems with juice stuff because somebody didn't know. Their experience, the good juice companies, their experience taught them that if you mix this and this, we got a problem. Let's pull this out because it creates a chemical problem. Uh-oh, the child safety caps were a problem. Let's put child safety caps on. Minors, let's ban this to minors. If this flavor don't work, just as simple as that flavor don't work, this one sells better. Let's go back to this one. It comes with experience. Yeah, we don't know what's going to be like in 20 years for vaping, but we got a whole lot better idea than the guy sitting up in the office making all the damn laws and passing these laws because, oh, it looks like smoke. It looks like smoke, and oh my God, it's got flavor in it like candy. Shut up. Look at the United States and how many fat people there are. We like sweet flavors. I didn't get fat as a kid. I got fat as an adult. Go figure, right? Sorry, I'm off my... Back to you.
Well, I like staying on this topic because it's a good topic to talk about. But there's a couple of things in chat that I want to take some quick little dodges at, so you guys understand that we're actually watching chat and listening to you. There's one comment about what the government's worried about is losing the tax revenue over the loss of the revenue from big tobacco. Well, I have one thing that we need to start doing as consumers, because this is directly related to consumers, is comparing vaping to smoking and say the tax revenue should become to that is almost as absurd as taxing milk because someone joined AA. Okay? If you're not buying that bottle of booze, well, that tax dollars is not going to the state. So you're responsible for replacing that money because you're not buying that product anymore? No, get bent. There's no reason that because government spending's out of hand and they can't control their spending that they've got to find another product to retain that revenue from. I hate to say it, is if tobacco revenues are a declining issue, which they should be if public health has been doing their job, then they just need to find a total different source for revenue, which means taking up millage or gas taxes or whatever else to replace it, not looking for another product to tax.
Do soy farmers have to subsidize tobacco farmers?
Well, they would have to subsidize wheat, maybe.
Or no. Actually, I should have asked. Do soy farmers have to subsidize the cow industry?
Yeah.
Because they're making soy milk. It's a healthier alternative. It's a healthier alternative to milk when you're lactose intolerant. So, do they have to subsidize it?
And let's see, there was that comment in there, so that's kind of my take on that. Anybody else have a take on replacement taxing?
Well, I'm thinking that the original reason they decided to tax the cigarettes, the tobacco, that stuff, was to provide education to people not to smoke or to smoke less, and for the healthcare issues related to it. So if the numbers are going down, why aren't their numbers going down for what they need? I mean, obviously we know the answer that all the money wasn't going where they originally said it was going to go, but you get my point?
Mm-hmm.
I got the idea. I got the perfect idea.
What you got?
What you got?
50 cents on every bottle gets put in a bank account across the board. Every juice manufacturer across the country throws 50 cents on the bottle, every bottle, into a bank account. And the first politician that makes it to president with the pro-vaping agenda gets it.
Okay. Another comment I want to bring up from the chat, and I'll be quiet for a little bit on this. I'll let everybody take it because everybody in the room already knows where I'm going to go. Is the comment that the industry needs to fund more studies and studies are expensive.
No. No, the industry does not need to do that. We need outside industries to validate our industry. So we need the people on the outside, people that have no interest in vaping at all, to do those type of studies and see what their actual results are coming out. not the ones with agendas to destroy vaping, but the ones that are just say, let's look at this because it is a hot button topic. Let's see what it really does and find out, what vaping is all about, and and it's been done. It's already been done. We have a lot of studies out there that have no interest in the vaping community, and they do it, and some of them support us with those studies, support the vaping and what it does for us, and then there's some that just don't, and you got to take the good with the bad.
Anybody else?
Yup. You go to studies, again, I get medical on you. A nice, clean, valid study, okay, is done objectively, not by somebody who, like Monkey said, has an interest in either direction. It's done objectively, it's done completely, and you get results, not theories. Because a lot of what we see, they come up with these theories that this might happen or that might happen, but no actual evidence of it. A good study gives you actual evidence that you can look at and understand why it actually happened. Theories don't do that for you, and I think they do a really poor job with most of the studies. Some of them are not so bad, but a lot of them are really bad.
Okay. Truck? Any comment?
Do I have a comment? I agree. I think what both Robin and Monk have just said I agree with. I think it needs to be done by an independent party. But I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Who are we going to get to do just that?
Oh, hang on. Let me interject because you're right where I was going to go. What do the following things have in common? The Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and an independent party with no interest that's going to do a study on vaping.
They're all mythical.
I mean, think about it. If you've got no interest, why spend the money?
I mean, because when we say we need to do more studies, okay, we had an organization, put some money together, and do a study. And people balked at it because it was they thought it was a biased study done by a group that wanted to sway it in their direction. We've got doctors that are on our side that can do studies. Guess what? They're going to balk at it because they're not on the side of the American Lung Association. So if we get the American Lung Association on board and have them do it, wait, they're bought out by the goddamn Settlement Act. There's nothing in it for an independent company to come in and do it. There's nothing in it for them because they're going to get bought out by the politicians and other interest in other parties, or there is nobody willing to put their neck out there that has nothing to claim or nothing to gain from it, because if they put their neck out there and they get their head chopped off by American Lung Association or Big Pharma or Big Tobacco, finding that independent group is going to be the hardest part of all of it.
So what you need is people with integrity doing a study that has integrity, who all they are interested in is the truth. But you know what? Like, good luck with that. I don't know where you find that.
Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah.
We accept studies from the drug companies when a product is sent through FDA evaluation. The person who pays for that study is the person who created the drug. Okay? Yet, when we're talking about a product that has to deal with vaping, we want a non-interested third party. Well, it doesn't matter what the product is. The industry is responsible for testing its own product, and it's responsible for maintaining the integrity of that study. So, this is where the history of the tobacco companies is coming to haunt us, because the tobacco companies supposedly did their studies in the 70s that showed that the healthful effect of cigarettes, which obviously there was no integrity in that study. So what we need to do is, again, I've said this a million times, just because it looks like smoking doesn't mean it's smoking. And the same thing applies to the industry. Just because we provide a product that looks like smoking, we're not big tobacco. We need to have the industry come forward. And when I say the industry come forward, it's harder in our instance because there's so many small companies that are doing this. We're going to have to start pooling resources through like the the ERF, the E-Cigarette Research Foundation, um, that we need to start pooling money into so that we can get these ethical studies done. Now, people are talking about, I hear so many vendors make this comment about, oh, a little tax will help, or we'll just take a little tax so the government goes away. So, as a consumer, I've got to say, if you want to play that game, fine, we'll pay a few pennies more. You show us the data. We'll throw that around the room. What do you think, Monk? You got that funny look on your face.
I'll defer it to my other two co-hosts right now.
Robin?
I really don't know. I really I don't know. I don't know where to go with that. Truck?
Well, I agree. I think that if we were to do that, this goes to setting the standards too. Though this is, we've talked about this before privately. If we can get a group of vendors together to do such a study, or actually, if we can get a group of vendors together that will pull their interests together to create standards for an industry, it needs to be shared across the board.
Yep.
Because they are how do you say it? They are the pioneers in this industry, if you will. And I hate to say it, I think that what may happen is they may not share because if they can become the Walmart overnight and control the industry, do you know what I'm saying? It's a very slippery slope, very cautious place to be. They can do this if they try, but they're coming at it precariously slow because they don't want to give their competitors the upper hand. We've got some big money makers and some big movers in the industry that can do this. But if they tip their hat to the wrong competitor, because we all know there are asshats out there, won't mention any, we've had an asshat this week. There are asshats out there that will take this and run with this and ruin it for others. So we're at a point to where, okay, we can get the groups. We as a militia have been struggling to get people together on this, but convincing them that it's the right thing to do is going to be awkward when it comes to the dollars. They've got a lot of money invested in this, and if they lose it, or if it doesn't pan out because someone takes their idea and runs with it, yes, I think it's the right thing. I think it's the way to go. Once we get the standard going, it should be shared across the board. Someone somewhere is not going to like it, and it's probably going to be the smaller companies or the guys that can't afford it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of those right now. But it goes back to my thoughts earlier. What does it take to open up a damn restaurant? What does it take to open a vape shop? Somewhere down the road, we've got to set that bar, because it's the guys that have no ambition to get to that bar are going to destroy it for the rest of us. Back to you.
The thing is this. I'm going to go back to what I said. I understand what we're saying here, and we've been in this community for a very long time and fighting for a while, and I still am on the fence of it could be a little too late. Yes, we still need standards, but I think the government's going to set those for us. And This would have been great 2 years ago. But we're just on that road now to what the government's going to do to us, or do for us, and then everyone's going to have to abide by it. That's the black and white of it.
We still don't know at this point what redress procedures are going to be. We don't know. Hell, we don't even really know what procedures are going to come out from the FDA that we're going to have to adhere to. I mean, we have some ideas. Some of our industry leaders have moved in those directions, but the bottom line is it's still an open book at this point, and we put ourselves in a position where all the best intentions of proactivity most likely are gone. That the only choice for this industry is reactivity.
Sadly,
it's a very
I
sad
agree,
place to be.
The money that needed to be poured into this should have been done, like Monk said, a year ago, 2 years ago. Now it's, if we dump the money in it now, will we get the return on that money? Will we? Is it too late, or do we just wait for regulation? We're here. Maybe they won't regulate us. Maybe they won't be. It won't be so bad because it's such a big industry.
Yeah,
That's
that's funny.
Well,
you know, if you do look at what Truck is saying, I kind of see where he's going. He's saying, look at what happens if it's not as bad, or they come back and say, hey, you know, maybe they do come back, and we're just as hypothetical. Maybe they do come back and say, hey, we have some standards, we want you to work with them and try to get, you know, something set. Are we all going to follow that? I mean, we're not doing it now. So are we going to get everybody, all these vape shops, on board with all this, or are we just going to keep running around just doing whatever we want to do?
Well, let me throw it even further. Let's go even further there, Monk. Think about this. Not just the vape shops, but let's say all the standards come across and it means they get to have a little FDA label. Does that mean that you as a consumer are only going to buy those juices that have the FDA label on them?
Yeah, that's true. You know, I didn't think about that. That is a very good thought.
But if we got to that point, do you think that would be optional? It wouldn't be mandatory?
What, FDA labeling?
Mm-hmm.
I believe it to be not optional.
Well, obviously, if you put it on there and you haven't earned it, or you haven't gone through the steps, that there's going to be legal challenges that can be presented to put you out of business. I mean,
yeah.
There's people using FDA stuff now.
Oh, remind me to slap you in the back of the head later.
Thanks.
There are. Oh, it's FDA approved flavoring.
FDA approved that it is, yeah.
But see, I think people will do it. I think people will throw it on the bottle because guess what? It's a selling point.
Well, of course,
they'll throw it on the bottle and they'll get pulled into court.
I mean, think about it. You put a guarantee on the box. It makes you feel good inside that there's a guarantee, but the guarantee is probably not has holes in it. Pull water right through it.
Yeah.
But how many drugs has the FDA pulled from their approval list? Wait, because they put it out a little too early. Because guess what? They okayed it because big money said, "Hey, come on."
You mean you can't test a product for everything in your testing phase?
No, because we don't know what it's going to do long term.
You cynic, you. And that happens a lot,
And the FDA is gun shy. They don't. Well, I don't know what's going to be happen. What in 20 years we might be like tobacco. We might all be dying of cancer, lung cancer, vapor cancer.
The only person that gets rich then is the lawyers.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to school for. As a lawyer.
Wow.
I'm going to be the first vapor lawyer in the United States.
And of course, then we all have to remember the product that we came from had a very clear label that, by the way, it would fucking kill you. Yet we continue to use it.
Yep.
Yeah, we do that all the time. I mean, you look at it. I mean, Chantix. If everybody in America has seen Chantix commercials, and the commercial has maybe a couple seconds about what Chantix can do to you or do for you, like get you off smoking, and the rest of the commercials, all of the shit that it'll do to you.
Right.
Heart attacks and blood clots and unusual dreams and
Suicidal thoughts.
It's like the whole commercial's like this bad, thing that's going to happen to you if you take this. But at the end, it's like, hey, I took it and I got off smoking and I love it.
Yeah.
I really wish we could come out with a warning like for a third arm or something like that. I mean, that would be really cool.
If you suddenly grow a third arm while vaping, stop vaping your exalted position right away.
Yeah. Crazy.
So
third arm. A third arm.
And if you suffer from
make your coils.
There you go.
If you suffer
Now there have been some people. I do want to go back and say there have been some groups that have come forward and in intention have tried to do the right thing. We've had AIMSA who came along, and there's been a couple other e-liquid groups that have tried to step in and tried to move forward in this, and a lot of people, you get a lot of different responses. Because number one, anytime you initiate this type of an industry sweeping reform, of course there's cost. Okay, and a lot of people found that as being a problem, and a lot of people found that because AIMSA was a trade group and chose not to share some information openly, they found that to be a problem. And it's very strange the way this industry has responded to those people who have tried to reform it to this point. Any commentary on that?
Lots of it, but I don't think we got enough show left.
Go ahead.
Haters are gonna hate. You sit here, we do what we can to make it a better place for everybody. AIMSA, while some don't agree with their price structure, went to their members and came up with their own price structure. Safada came along and they're helping the other people out. We came along because there was inactivity and we were tired of seeing people not knowing what to do. And CASA's here because they felt a need. There was a place. And Vista came along, and you know what? It comes down to people being apathetic. If there was less apathy here, and like they say in chat, if people would think about what we're doing and get involved and realize every aspect of what we do as a vapor, and as a vapor, not as an industry leader or as an industry manufacturer, producer, every one of us, including the manufacturers, are vapors at one point. Every single thing we do affects everything we got coming at us. How we treat others, how we treat people that don't vape, how we treat people that do vape, how we react when other people do stuff that we may not like, how we don't react, how we approach government when we think that we have a better idea, how we there's a lot of things we can do, and there's a lot of things we shouldn't do. But when we do them wrong, no matter what it is, like not carding when we should be, like showing up looking like a bum at a political meeting when we shouldn't be because we're in their office, they just look at us like we're scum, like blowing huge clouds from here to the frickin' checkout counter at Walmart while you're in the back at the layaway department when you shouldn't be. There's a time and a place for everything, and if we... Okay, I got to go back to something that somebody said. An old friend, I haven't talked to him in a long time, but he always said, Why does quitting smoking and becoming a vapor make us assholes? We were smokers before this. We're still smokers. We're ex-smokers now. It doesn't give us any more privilege. Why do we got to become an asshole? Why can't we just do this polite? If we were doing it polite from the beginning, we wouldn't be in the eye of government that's now trying to regulate this.
I don't think that's all of it, but I think it does have a good portion to it. The public perception of what vaping is does have a lot, because when you see these specific ordinances, like I said, that talk about elevators, that talk about child care facilities and things like that, those are response to
Yep.
what something that's been done.
Because somebody says, "Oh no, there's a lot of people that don't like smoking." We as smokers already know this. We've dealt with it as smokers. Probably why some of us quit smoking, because of the pressure to quit smoking from our families, from our employers, from our wherever that we got our pressure from, or doctors, or the fact that we couldn't breathe in the morning. Um,
That heart attack thing kind of did me in.
that was probably a big pressure, but your doctor probably pointed that out to you. Look, dude, you know, there are people that don't like smoking, and so they've been preaching this and preaching this and preaching this. And you know what? I, like most of you here, as a smoker, would look at one of them guys, go, "Fuck you, whatever." That's my cigarette, whatever. But why do we forget that? Why do we forget where we came from?
It's true.
Well, and a lot of people, I do appreciate a lot of people that have come behind on the advocacy effort, but there is a manner that we have to use to be able to communicate correctly with government officials. And a lot of people, they feel that they have the right simply because they think that a right is something, one of their rights is being challenged, to go be noisy and to be jerks about it. And we really do need to learn how to work within the system correctly. That's a very big point there.
Where can they go learn?
Well, they can read this little blog called the Vaping Militia Blogs.
Looking back to basics, I mean, really, where can they learn it? From the vaping militia, maybe?
Yeah. When we behave.
We're not
What
that
if you don't? What if they don't like the vaping militia? Where else can they learn?
Kasai's got a pretty good program.
So wait, like vaping, there's alternatives to the militia?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's that little group called Kasai. They kind of have a thing for consumers.
Yeah, a little bit. That's what the C stands for, isn't it?
Usually.
And I say that because when we go to the shows and stuff, and I'm talking to people about the militia and other stuff, and I say to them, like, have you heard of Kassan? They're like, well, what is that? And they have, or if they've heard of it, they have no idea what it is, and I'm like, that's what the C stands for. They don't know. They just don't know.
And though I really do appreciate those vape stores and people in the vaping industry that do support Kasai, they need to remember that Kasai is a consumer organization. Educating their consumers and getting their consumers aware of what's going on with it is far, far a better thing for them to do. Not that you shouldn't. If you've got the means and you want to help support Kasai, yeah, go ahead, feel free. But remember, they are a consumer group.
Right. Yeah, I end up giving like alphabet lessons. I'm like, C is for Kasa, T is for trade, in Savada.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a great point, Fiamma. I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me. The Kasa call to action on the Boehner letter about moving the grandfather date, that is still out there and still active. And this is like one of the major things that consumers can do for the industry is go fill out that call to action and send that in to the top officials of the Republican Party, because this is one of those events that might make a major difference in how the industry is regulated, is by changing that grandfather date.
So is this actually still a call to action that's still effective?
Yeah, in fact, I'll grab the link for it right quick. Hang on a minute.
Fiamma rocks.
Yeah,
She
it is
does.
something that we need to do as vapors. We have to do this. I mean, this. If you want to do something and you feel like you can't do anything, well, do this. I mean, 4,000, and I was right. How many vapors do we have now that can just fill out a simple form?
And it took 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's easy.
We got people joining the militia that have paid for their tags and want to know, well, now what? What have you done for me? No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You joined us to help us become stronger. Just because you joined don't mean you can sit back. Because you joined, you need to do this stuff. Because you get it, obviously. At one point you got it. We didn't do... Militia is not about dog tags and T-shirts. Because, hell, I send everybody a goddamn
Really?
T-shirt if it became an advocacy group. If
It's about vape
everybody...
pens too, right? Oh,
I'm sorry?
nothing. Go ahead.
If you have a hat, however, you could be an advocate. But
Oh my God.
if just because you've joined a group like CASA, like SAFADA, like Militia, like AVA, like anybody, you can't sit back and let them do it. It takes participation. These groups are around because our voice is stronger in numbers. We have to do things in numbers. We have to keep this going. If only 4,000 people have responded to this, out of how many people?
Are you guys going to have pizza?
I don't know. Be right back.
Yeah, we really do. We really do need to get on this one. And by the way, we don't jump into crazy personal issues, but I'm glad you're doing better, Miss Fiamma, and it's so wonderful to see you in the chat. By the way.
Sorry, when we gotta, just because we join doesn't mean we can sit on our laurels and not do anything. We've got to be active. We've got to do stuff. If anything, doing a survey.
He was on a rant. He got
Yeah.
misdirected.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe it was my audio or something.
No, we're dinner order. Sorry, it's dinner time here.
Yeah, that's
important.
Hold on, we're going to pause the show now because Truck needs his dinner order. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Other people don't realize that I'm casting, and I can't get mad at them. But we've got to keep going. We got to keep doing. A really big supporter of us recently asked us, "What do we do? How come I haven't heard from you?" Well, because you haven't looked in the right places. We're here. We put the call to actions out every day. We do stuff every day. We live on the internet every day.
All of us, yeah.
If you guys forward the stuff on, Fiamma, I know, and she wakes up and spends 2 hours just about every day scouring the forums and looking at what's going on. If everybody had her passion, we'd keep this going. It takes a little bit of action by a lot of people to show a big action. Imagine if a lot of people did a lot of action. It'd be huge. Sorry, my rant.
Don't be sorry.
And I
Sorry,
wanted
kid.
to, we were about 20 minutes, and I wanted to kind of bring one other thing that I saw this week. I wanted to bring it up so that people could see it. And I'm hoping, kind of a challenge, because I don't always get to, sometimes a piece of information gets past me, and I'm hoping that our audience can help out a little bit. There's a link I'm going to put in the chat. And this is about a study that was recently done that the conclusion of this study was that dependence of users on electronic cigarettes as compared to nicotine gums. And the results of this study, I'm just going to read the conclusion here. It says some e-cigarette users were dependent on nicotine-containing e-cigarettes, but these products were less addictive than tobacco cigarettes. E-cigarettes may be as or less addictive than nicotine gums, which by themselves are not very addictive. Now, the reason why I kind of bring that up is one of the things I'm trying to find out lately is a lot of times we end up comparing like to unlike, apples to oranges. So everybody who can figure out it's an e-cigarette can figure out it's safer than a cigarette. But where we really do need to grab some information right now is there are a few studies out there that show how the accepted NRTs are being used and what the comparisons are to those NRTs. Now, you're not going to find a lot of these in the United States, but there are a lot of these being done in the European market right now. So, for those of you in our audience, if you happen to be out there looking around and you come across these studies, I do encourage you to share them with us in the militia Facebook group so we can take a look at them. Because I think it's a good tack that we can start using, comparing like to like. In other words, a nicotine replacement product to a nicotine replacement product. So it's kind of a new way to look at what an e-cigarette can do for you.
So you just challenged everybody to actually do something.
Go figure.
Well, I'll see if I can do it between my Bubble Witch Saga train stuff. But yeah, okay.
If you can do it between Bejeweled games, I'd really appreciate it.
I should be able to find time. It shouldn't take too long.
Wow.
That's been my point ever since we started. If you can play Bubble Witch Saga or whatever, you should be able to do something like this. We're all on the internet. We see these things, and we've, with a board of 8, like we've said this before, and it needs to be repeated over and over. The militia is only a board of 8. We have 700 members page strong, over 7,000 Facebook members strong. Yeah. This stuff should be flying in. We should need more people on our board because we can't keep up. But it doesn't. It's not. If we can get everybody looking with a little bit of Google food, like I said, imagine what a little bit of something from a lot of people would be. Monk, come on, Monk, you're quiet.
He's quiet. He's quieter than me now.
Is it still too late, Monk?
Well, you know what? It's all I have to say is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, but you can grab it by the ears and drown it, puppy, if you don't pay attention.
I was going to say, can we
in the water?
Can we hold him under?
Cattle prod, and he'll deal cards for you.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm beyond that. Anyway. Well, we're about 15 minutes in, and we got we got a couple of regular business things to come, and hopefully Robin had time to remember that this is where she's supposed to grab her list and tell us and get people informed on where Vaping Militia events will be happening over the next month. And by the way, before she starts, I'm going to tell you that everything starts at the end of this month, and once it starts, hold on to your hats.
It's like a race, Okay, ready?
Yep.
February 28th is where we start. Till March 1st is VCC Tampa. We'll be there. You'll be there, actually, by yourself, but you have help, I'm glad.
Oh, I got tons of help down there.
Yeah, so that's, again, that's February 28th to March 1st. Also on February 28th, a one-day event. It's just on the 28th. It's the Saturday of that weekend. Fred and I will be in Fort Wayne, Indiana at Babe in the Fort. There's a site on Facebook or a page on Facebook that you can find all the information you need if you want to. Again, Fort Wayne, Indiana, March 6th and 7th, Vape Fest. That's in Las Vegas at the Flamingo Hotel, and I think that's a pretty big event, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be for us because we're all going to be there.
Then March 13th, 14th, and 15th is Vape Blast, and that's in Dallas. The 13th is all business to business. The 14th and the 15th is for everybody else. And that's a biggie, too, I think. That's at Fort Worth Convention Center. Then on March 20th and 21st is Vapor Slam, and that's at the Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We'll be there. That will be Joe, you, and me, I think, right?
I think so.
Okay. And then April 17th and 18th is Bash. That's at the Pheasant Run Resort in Charles, Illinois. Again, that's the 17th and 18th. I heard that's huge. Never been there. Looking forward to doing that. And that's as far as we go with anything that's actually confirmed yet. There's other stuff in the works, but nothing that is actually confirmed.
A couple of things that aren't. Well, actually, there is one that's confirmed, and that's what's the date, Truck, for Expo?
Oh, you do the Expo commercial.
Expo, June 5th and 6th,
Right.
Vape Expo, Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's now the Wyndham, Wyndham?
Wyndham, yeah. It used to be the Clarion. It's the same place, but with a different name. Am I right?
Same place as before.
Okay.
However, it will be June 5th and 6th. Not the same time of year, but June 5th and 6th. We do have the whole place. If you try to book a room, and don't let me forget, I got something to add to this too a minute ago. If you try to book a room through Hotels.com, it's going to be booked. You have to go through our website to get the Vape Expo website to get the link,
Right.
because there is a coupon code for that weekend, or you have to call the hotel directly with that code, which you can get from VapeExpo.com, and you can get the rooms. We do need to fill the rooms. Now, that being said, I have something I need to go back and add to the Flamingo in Vegas, in Vape Fest in Vegas. If you already have a room, please contact Malice Doll. If you have a room for Vape Fest in Vegas, contact Malice Doll. There apparently has been an issue with people booking outside of the block, and they need to know who has those rooms so they can get credit for them. Please contact Malice. You're not in trouble. They just need to know so they can get credit for the rooms. And anyway, so back to Expo. We've got we've rented the whole hotel. That's so awesome. That we have no issues with people complaining about vapor. We should be able to vape anywhere. We've got a special security team there that's going to be there helping us so that we can circumvent the fire alarms and the fire marshal, make the fire marshal happy so that we're not setting off fire alarms. That's not to say they won't go off. I have a feeling they'll go off, but the fire marshal's going to be happy. And we are already starting to book spots, so I know some of the vendors that are going to be there. It's going to be a great time. We had a great time at the last one, and I think this one's going to be better. I really do.
It's a dry event this time, right?
Dry? No, there's a pool.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
dry?
Wait. No, okay. I see where he's going with this.
Dry?
No,
I'm sorry, I can't make it.
No, what he meant, we won't have the rainforest like we did this last time. This last time they were fixing the roof, and they left early that day because it started raining. Problem was the roof was leaking when the event happened. It was raining harder inside than it was outside.
I never even heard about that.
Yeah,
oh my God, we could have sold umbrellas. So no, the roof.
English umbrellas would have been great.
When you said dry, I thought you were referring to no vodka. That's why I said, sorry, I can't make it.
There's a place that will deliver vodka.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I'm not going.
We actually have a place there that will deliver to you.
Vodka?
You're good.
You'll give me their phone number before we go, please? Thank you.
It should be on your speed dial.
Don't worry. I'll put it in speed dial on your phone, dude.
Thank you.
couple other events I know that we're looking out towards is BCC PA this
Right.
year. Um, we just got
Whatever
that's
that.
been announced. We haven't
Yeah.
confirmed yet, but we're looking at that.
Looking at that. Yeah.
And we're also looking at Vapor Dynasty Expo out in Phoenix, which is
Right
later
in
in the year.
October.
Yeah,
Right.
sometime in October.
Yeah. Yep.
So
And there you
that's
have it.
just to give everybody a little heads up on where we'll be running around and where you can come chase Truck down and harangue him for a shirt
Yes.
Or an autograph.
or an
Yes.
autograph. Truck does give autographs.
There will be a difference though this year. If you want me to use a permanent marker, it's gonna cost you a hug or a handshake.
I am not asking any questions at this point in time.
Might
It's
be a
better
good
not,
idea.
I'm just not.
So
But we do have a kissing booth. Monk will be there.
Oh my!
yes, all right.
And Joe, we will have autographed pictures of Joe.
Oh, good lord. There will be one real big difference for the event this year is we did book out the auditorium for the entire time, so there will be many times that we'll have presenters during Vape Expo to bring all types of advocacy and information to you guys. So looking forward to that big time.
That's
Yes,
going to be a great event.
and the new shirts. The new shirts will be there, so look forward to them.
There'll be some new shirts there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oops, what, like that? No. Okay. Yeah, like that.
Jeez. Am I
Those
the
are
only board
currently
member that
available
doesn't
now.
have one yet? Hello? Am I the only board member that doesn't have the new shirts?
Well,
Yours is
actually,
in the
Robin,
mail.
I'm wearing a jersey. I had this made for me last year when I first designed the logo, so this is like a year older.
So left out.
Well, sometimes we have to. Sometimes we have to make you want it.
I believe Zin will
Not feeling the
probably
love
show
here.
up to Vape Expo.
Oh yeah, I think you will too.
I cannot confirm that. I have not spoke to him directly, but I'm pretty sure he'll be there.
You probably will.
Okay, so we got 10 minutes left, or actually 7 minutes left. Final thoughts. Truck, you want to go first?
Final thoughts. So you want me 7 minutes worth or just 2 minutes worth?
Just 2 minutes worth.
I think while it may seem or appear that it's too late, it is never too late. We cannot stop. We have to keep going. Because if we stop, then what? I think, okay, while it could possibly be too late, if we keep going, if we keep plugging, maybe we'll get, that's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do with the militia. Eventually, we may get the word out to enough freaking people and make a difference. That's all I can hope is we can make a difference. I think that by people doing the right thing and leading by example, that whole snowball thing, it started out as a pebble rolling down that hill, but picked up a little snow at a time, a little at a time. It possibly could. I think it'll take off. Hopefully, we don't run into that freaking snow machine called the FDA that forces it on us. But I think we keep going. We have to. We have to keep leading by example, whether it ends up too late or not. We just have to. Because we are passionate about this industry. For me, it's not about my vape tomorrow. It's about my mother-in-law that was just here taking my food order. I want this available for her. No, I want this available for her. I want this available for my brother-in-law. I want them to be able to quit smoking. My sister-in-law. I don't want to see my family die like my aunt did. I don't want to see them die like so many people did. I don't want them to go through what I did. I want them to be able to quit. I want my kids' friends that are smoking now to be able to have this as an alternative. My kids, my 18-year-olds, even the young kids, as they get older, when they get old enough for this, if they're going to take up smoking, by God, I'd rather them vape, But it's got to be here for them at a reasonable reach. I don't want minors to get it. but I want it to be reasonable for somebody of age to get a hold of it and not have to fight for it. If you have to have a prescription for it, we're screwed. Someone else.
Monk, got any thoughts?
Oh, I get to talk?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
You know, when we go to these conventions, there's a lot of misconceptions, and I just want to put a lot of that to rest. So you work the booth for the militia. You do not know how hard we work at that booth, talking to thousands of people, especially at these bigger conventions, like in Dallas and California, thousands of people, and it is very tiring and it's very hard work. And we are volunteering our time to go to these places, and it's rewarding yet tiring, but it needs to be done, and I'm glad that we have stepped up to do it. And we don't get a lot of time to do anything else but talk to you and listen to your concerns and listen to the vape shop owners' concerns, because when we are done at that booth, we are dead tired, and we're not looking to do nothing but go to bed because we are tired. And that's something that people do not realize, and I just want to make that clear to them.
Thank you.
Miss Robin?
You know, I said this earlier, probably to you, that I'm a firm believer that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Please be part of the solution. You know, we appreciate you guys to become members, supporting members. It helps to support us, obviously. But, you know, get up off your butts and do something. Get involved. Be part of the solution. We can't do it without you guys doing it, too. There's only 8 of us, and we need you guys to get involved and help us out.
Let's see, in Houston, that would be Patrick. And if you'll just send an email to, actually, I'll give you the contact link. Hang on, let me grab it.
Yeah, do that.
Let me grab the contact link right quick. That'll work. I put the contact link so people, if anybody who needs to, you can use that. And once it gets an email system, we're able to ship it around and get it to the right person so they can get action done. It's the easiest way to do it. And yeah, I do appreciate everybody's support. And I'll just, I guess this week, the one message I really want people to understand is sometimes you don't have to stand up and yell. Sometimes a quiet message can be just effective. But the key to what I'm saying is you got to say something. So if all you're doing is ranting in the mirror, you're not accomplishing anything. So reach out, talk to somebody that can actually do something or give you an idea of what to do. And if you have no idea what to do, I put the contact link in. Send us an email. We will find something for you to do. I guarantee you that. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this Sunday. Sorry for the rough start and getting late, and I do want to thank both Monk and Truck for joining us today. Unusual pleasure to have you guys along.
Yes.
So, thank you so much, and I hope everybody has a great week. We are gone.